My dear friends, I invite you to join me on a journey into the depths of the human mind, where anger is born, where frustration grows, and where resentment sometimes festers until it poisons our hearts. We live in an era of constant stimulation and endless communication. We scroll through social media feeds filled with strangers' opinions, open ourselves to the harsh words of online critics, and at times endure the careless or even malicious remarks of those around us in everyday life. The question arises, how can we remain unshaken, unbothered, resilient, and calm no matter what people say or do? This question isn't trivial. It's at the heart of a fulfilled existence. Anger is not only a thief of peace, but also a distortion of our true selves. In the heat of fury, we say things we don't truly mean. We lash out, causing harm not just to others, but also to our own well-being. If we allow anger to take root, it can drive our decisions, cloud our judgment, and turn our days into a fog of resentment. But I am here to tell you that there is a path out of this vicious cycle. There is a way to live so that, while you may feel the first spark of anger, it never ignites into a destructive blaze. This path is neither magic nor empty theory. It's grounded in ancient wisdom and verified by countless souls who have learned to master themselves. It's time we pull back the curtain on the illusions that fuel our anger and step into the clear light of understanding. Let us begin by facing a hard truth. No one is responsible for our anger but ourselves. I know that may sound harsh. After all, you might say, isn't it that person's rude comment that made me mad? Didn't they push my buttons? But the deeper reality is this. Events in the outside world are, in themselves, neutral. A remark is just a remark, a glare is just a glare, and someone's negative behavior is just that, an external event. The sting we feel, the fury that boils up, is rooted in our own interpretation and reaction. It's how we perceive the remark that shapes our emotional response. Now, this is not to excuse those who speak cruelly or act harmfully, nor to deny that certain words can cut deep. But to find enduring peace, we must acknowledge that the seat of our power, and therefore the seat of our anger, lies within us. Perhaps you've heard the words of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave yet rose to become one of the most respected teachers of his time. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This single line is a sword cutting through the illusions that keep us chained. If we genuinely accept that no external force can control our inner life unless we grant it permission, then the question becomes, why would we choose to give others that power? Why allow a stranger's criticism or a friend's careless comment to rob us of our peace? I realize this is easier said than done. We've been conditioned by society, by family patterns, by personal experiences, to believe that anger is justified, even necessary. Some of us hold on to anger as if it were a protective shield. We think that by being angry, we somehow guard our pride, our sense of worth. Yet anger is rarely the armor we imagine it to be. More often, it's a weight on our shoulders, dragging us down. If we see it for what it truly is, a reflex that can harm us more than it helps, we might be more willing to release it. Let us explore the nature of anger more deeply. Anger often arises from unmet expectations. We expect people to be polite, to treat us fairly, to recognize our efforts. We expect life to unfold according to our desires. When these expectations aren't met, someone speaks harshly, or a promotion goes to someone else, or we're cut off in traffic, we feel a surge of injustice. We become indignant. This shouldn't happen to me. But there's a quiet truth. The world is not obligated to meet our expectations. People are shaped by their own fears, experiences, and flaws. Life's events unfold in ways we cannot always predict or control. This is not a defeatist viewpoint, but a liberating one. If we release the illusion that others must act as we wish, We free ourselves from the constant disappointment that fuels anger. Yet, some will argue, without expectations, how do we maintain standards? How do we demand respect? The key is distinguishing between healthy boundaries and unrealistic demands. You have every right to uphold your dignity, to remove yourself from harmful situations, or to calmly communicate that someone's behavior is not acceptable. What you don't have to do is allow anger to take over your mind. You can hold firm to your standards without letting rage consume you. Instead of reacting with fury, respond with clarity. Instead of dwelling in resentment, take constructive action. You might walk away from a toxic environment or politely address the issue. Calmly stating, "I will not be spoken to this way," can be more powerful and more self-respecting than unleashing a torrent of insults. Now, let's talk about the illusions we carry about ourselves. Sometimes anger arises because we're protecting an image of who we think we are. We tell ourselves, "I'm someone who deserves admiration," or "I'm someone who shouldn't be criticized." When reality clashes with this self-image, we feel threatened. But is that self-image even accurate? Are we truly beyond reproach? Perhaps we're clinging to an idea of perfection that doesn't serve us. It can be a hard truth to accept that we're not always right, not always the center of the universe, and not always deserving of praise. But ironically, embracing our own imperfections can bring enormous relief. If we allow ourselves to be human, to make mistakes, to not always be liked, we become less defensive. We become less likely to take offense at every slight. We find that not everyone's approval is necessary for our self-worth. This leads us to another fundamental principle: humility. Pride often stokes anger. When someone contradicts us or points out a flaw, our ego feels attacked, and anger rushes in to defend it. But what if we approached life with a humble mindset? What if, instead of being threatened by criticism, we saw it as a possible chance to learn or a reflection of the other person's viewpoint? We don't have to accept every critique as truth, but we can hear it without losing our composure. Humility doesn't mean we grovel. It means we recognize that we, like everyone else, are works in progress. I urge you to consider how many relationships have been damaged by anger that flared up and was never soothed. Friendships can dissolve over a single heated argument. Families can harbor decades of resentment over an unkind word spoken in haste. At the core of such conflicts often lies a refusal to communicate openly and calmly about the hurt. Instead, people let anger fester, piling on assumptions and negative judgments. We end up fighting battles in our minds, battles that the other person may not even be aware of. How much suffering could we spare ourselves if we chose to address conflicts calmly and directly before they hardened into bitterness? Let's talk about social media, that vast ocean of opinions and judgments. It's a prime environment for anger to flourish. People hide behind screens, emboldened to say things they'd never say face to face. A stranger's comment can ruin our day if we let it. But let's remember, that stranger doesn't know you, your dreams, your struggles, your worth. Their words are typed in a vacuum. If you find yourself upset by a rude comment, pause and ask, "Am I giving too much weight to the opinion of someone who doesn't truly see me?" You might also question what that person is going through. Sometimes the cruelest words come from the most wounded souls. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it can help you remain empathetic rather than reactive. You can even use the block or mute function if necessary. There's no law that says you must expose yourself to every negative voice. Another angle to consider is the role of mindfulness in preventing anger from taking hold. Mindfulness means paying attention to the present moment, observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. Often, anger seizes us so quickly we don't realize it's happening until we've already lashed out. By practicing mindfulness through meditation, deep breathing, or simply a moment of still reflection, we can notice the first flicker of irritation. Instead of fueling it with more negative thoughts, we can pause, breathe, and choose a different response. This small shift in awareness can make a massive difference over time. Now, let's dive deeper into what I call the illusion of control. We often get angry because we feel that things are happening to us and not for us. We resist the idea that certain aspects of life lie beyond our domain. But let's be honest. Can we truly control what others think, say, or do? Can we command the traffic lights to always turn green or the weather to always be pleasant? Our circle of control is actually quite small. We can influence, we can guide, we can request, but we cannot ultimately control others. Accepting this is a form of liberation. When we stop trying to dominate the uncontrollable, we conserve energy for what we can change, our own mindset, our own actions, and our own emotional responses. Many people fear that giving up anger means becoming passive, a doormat for others. That is a misunderstanding. Stoicism and other teachings that discourage destructive anger do not advocate passivity. Rather, they encourage a disciplined, strategic approach to life. If someone disrespects you or violates your boundaries, you address it firmly, yet calmly. You may remove yourself from toxic situations or stand up for yourself with composure. It is far more effective to state your case with confidence and clarity than to explode in a rage. Anger often clouds your ability to express yourself effectively. Calm assertion, on the other hand, commands respect. We must also acknowledge that some of our anger might come from deeper wounds, past traumas, unresolved conflicts, a lack of self-esteem. If we're constantly on edge, snapping at the slightest provocation, perhaps it's time to look inward and ask what deeper pain is fueling this. Healing those wounds may involve therapy, introspection, or open conversations with trusted friends or mentors. This can be a hard truth, that our anger is not merely about the present annoyance, but a symptom of something bigger. Confronting that can be uncomfortable, yet it's a gateway to freedom. If we keep ignoring the root causes, we'll keep fighting the same battles again and again. Now, I want to speak to you from the heart about why living free from anger is so transformative. When you let go of constant irritation, you free up mental space for creativity, love, and genuine connection. Think about how draining it is to be angry all the time. Your muscles tense, your mind races with negative thoughts, your heart rate goes up. It's physically and emotionally exhausting. By contrast, when you're calm, you have the bandwidth to notice life's beauty, to be present in conversations, to enjoy simple pleasures. You become more patient, more compassionate. People around you can sense that peace, and they'll gravitate toward it. You become a person who uplifts others instead of pulling them into the undertow of negativity. This leads to the question of loyalty, how to connect with people so deeply that they trust and follow your guidance. If you wish to inspire loyalty or become a role model, understand that people are drawn to those who exhibit self-control and stability. No one wants to follow someone who flies off the handle at every turn. Consistency, emotional maturity, and the ability to navigate conflicts calmly are traits that foster genuine respect. Show people you can stand firm in the midst of chaos, and they will look to you as a pillar of strength. This doesn't mean you never show vulnerability. It means you choose to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. I also want to emphasize that we are all learning. Even the wisest among us have moments of anger. The goal isn't to become an emotionless robot. It's to grow in self-awareness. Every slip-up is an opportunity to reflect. What triggered me? How did I handle it? How can I do better next time? This iterative process is how we evolve. Over time, these small improvements accumulate, and you find yourself less reactive, more serene. It won't be a straight line, there will be setbacks. But each day, each interaction, is a fresh chance to practice. Let's address a tough scenario, betrayal or deep hurt from someone you trusted. It's natural to feel anger, even rage in such cases. But after that initial wave, you have a choice. Remain stuck in bitterness or move toward healing. Anger can sometimes be a catalyst that signals your boundaries were violated, prompting you to protect yourself. But once you've taken the necessary steps, be it distancing yourself from a toxic person or having a serious conversation, staying angry only prolongs your pain. Forgiveness isn't about letting the other person off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. Holding on to that anger is like gripping a hot coal, expecting it to burn someone else. Ultimately, you're the one who gets scorched. People often resist this notion, saying, "They don't deserve my forgiveness." That may be true, but do you deserve to live shackled by bitterness? Do you deserve to have your precious mental energy consumed by thoughts of revenge or indignation? Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It doesn't mean forgetting or inviting further harm. It means releasing the emotional poison so you can heal and move forward. Another angle is the role of gratitude. Anger and gratitude rarely coexist in the same moment. When you focus on what you have rather than what you lack, when you appreciate the kindnesses and blessings in your life, the small irritations fade in importance. You might think, how can I be grateful when someone just insulted me? But in that moment, you can still appreciate that you have the ability to walk away, that you have people who love you, that you're alive and capable of growth. Shifting your focus to gratitude can immediately diffuse the sting of anger. This doesn't invalidate your feelings. It simply places them in a broader context, reminding you that one negative event doesn't define your reality. Let's also consider the concept of loving detachment. This means caring about others without clinging to the need for their approval or for them to act a certain way. You can love people while acknowledging they are on their own journeys. If they lash out or disappoint you, you can address it without letting it destroy your inner peace. This is a powerful stance because it balances compassion with independence. You care, but you are not at the mercy of their moods or behavior. A practical tip for daily life: practice small acts of patience. For instance, if you're stuck in a long line at the grocery store, notice the frustration rising, then gently remind yourself, I can't speed this up by getting angry. Let me use this time to breathe, to observe, to maybe strike up a friendly chat. Such minor irritations are training grounds for bigger challenges. If you can handle the small stuff with grace, you build the habit of composure that will serve you in more serious conflicts. I want to address a concern. Some people worry that without anger, they'll lose their drive or become indifferent to injustice. Anger is sometimes romanticized as the fuel for activism or for achieving success. But while anger can ignite you into motion, it rarely sustains constructive, focused effort. A calm determination is far more potent and lasting. Instead of letting anger run the show, let a sense of purpose guide you. If you see injustice, you can act to correct it from a place of clarity and resolve rather than fury. Your efforts will be more strategic, your communication more persuasive, and your spirit more resilient. Let's look at an example from history. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. faced immense injustice, threats, and violence. If anyone had a reason to be consumed by anger, it was he. Yet he famously preached nonviolence and love. He understood that hatred could not drive out hatred. Only love could do that. Though he felt deep frustration and pain, he channeled these emotions into purposeful action, unclouded by blind rage. The result was a movement that changed the course of history. This is not to say anger never touched him, but rather that he refused to let it command him. That is the kind of strength we're talking about, moral and emotional fortitude that endures far longer than any fleeting burst of fury. Another hard truth: is that sometimes we use anger to mask our fears. We're afraid of being vulnerable, of being hurt, so we adopt anger as a defensive strategy. It's easier to snarl at someone than to admit we feel insecure or wounded. Yet, ironically, this strategy isolates us further. By never showing our true feelings, we push away genuine connection. We create walls of aggression instead of bridges of understanding. If we can acknowledge the fear beneath our anger, we may find that vulnerability, shared carefully and with the right people, leads to deeper relationships and less hostility in our lives. Now, how do we integrate all these ideas into a cohesive practice? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to when anger stirs in you. Don't judge yourself harshly for it. Just notice it. Ask, why am I angry? Is this about the situation or is there something deeper? Then decide how you want to respond. Maybe you need to take a walk, breathe, or step away for a moment before engaging. Maybe you need to clarify a misunderstanding. Maybe you need to set a boundary or end a toxic relationship. Whatever the case, you proceed with a calm mind, not a mind hijacked by rage. Over time, this approach rewires your reactions. You become someone who rarely takes offense, who sees the bigger picture, who understands that life is too short to be consumed by every slight. As you adopt this mindset, you'll find that people trust and respect you more. They see you as a stable presence in a chaotic world. You'll form deeper connections because you're no longer caught up in petty dramas. You'll have the energy to pursue your passions rather than squandering it on negativity. If you truly commit to this path, you'll notice changes in your everyday life. You might laugh at situations that once infuriated you. You might feel empathy for someone who insults you, wondering what pain leads them to lash out. You might even start seeing conflict as a puzzle to solve rather than a war to wage. And the best part, this growth doesn't just benefit you, it inspires others. People will see your example and wonder, how does he or she stay so composed? They might ask for your advice or simply emulate your calm presence. In this way, your personal growth ripples outward, creating a more harmonious environment for everyone around you. To maintain progress, consider a daily ritual. Each night, spend a few minutes reflecting on moments of potential anger. Did you handle them well or did you slip? If you slipped, don't beat yourself up. Think of how you can handle it better next time. If you succeeded, give yourself a mental pat on the back. This consistent practice cements new habits. Also, remind yourself each morning of the person you aspire to be. Someone who chooses wisdom over rage, understanding over resentment. Another powerful technique is to read or listen to uplifting materials regularly. Ancient Stoic texts, modern psychology books, or even motivational talks can keep your mindset aligned with calmness and clarity. Surround yourself with influences that reinforce your goals, not ones that constantly spark outrage. The internet is full of rage-inducing content, so curate your inputs carefully. Seek knowledge and positivity, not endless controversy. Some of you might be thinking, but what if I just can't let go of anger towards someone who truly wronged me? Understandable. Some hurts run deep. But consider that holding on to anger is a burden you carry. It might feel like the only way to remain strong, but in reality, it drains your strength. If the other person is truly harmful, your best step might be to distance yourself, legally or emotionally. If they are open to dialogue, maybe a genuine conversation could bring understanding. In either case, clinging to anger doesn't serve you. Real justice, real healing, often comes from a place of calm conviction rather than vengeful fury. And let's address the ultimate perspective. Life is finite. None of us know how many years, days, or even hours we have left. Is anger how you want to spend your limited time? When your final moments come, will you look back and wish you'd held on to more grudges, raged at more people? Unlikely. Most people, at the end of their lives, cherish memories of love, laughter, and shared experiences. Anger is rarely something they're proud of. Realizing this can jolt us into rethinking our emotional habits. Why wait until life's twilight to see that anger is often wasted energy? My friends, we've traveled through many layers of this topic. Expectations, illusions of control, ego, humility, mindfulness, forgiveness, gratitude, vulnerability, boundaries, and the fleeting nature of existence. Each piece is part of a larger tapestry, a vision of life free from the chains of anger and resentment. This journey is not about becoming indifferent robots. It's about finding a deeper, more authentic sense of power. A power that comes from knowing you are the master of your own reactions, not a slave to the triggers around you. You might wonder, what happens if I fully embrace this approach? Will I lose my edge? Will people walk all over me? In fact, you'll likely become sharper, more strategic, and more respected. When you're not bogged down by emotion, your mind is clear. You can see solutions others miss. You can speak firmly and persuasively without descending into personal attacks. People will recognize that you're not easily rattled, and that, my dear friends, is a form of quiet authority. It's the kind of authority that builds trust and admiration, the kind that creates loyal fans and devoted friends because it springs from genuine self-mastery. The hard truth is that you, and only you, are responsible for whether anger rules your life or not. No one else can break those chains for you. No one else can decide how you interpret events. If you've been letting anger run the show, it's time to reclaim that power. It won't happen instantly, but with consistent effort, reflection, and a willingness to challenge your assumptions, you can transform how you engage with the world. So, I stand here extending an invitation. Dare to live without anger. Dare to face the chaos of the world with calm resolve. Dare to show compassion where others show hostility. Dare to break free from the illusions that keep you in perpetual conflict. It won't always be easy, and at times it may feel lonely to choose a higher path when those around you indulge in rage. But I assure you, the rewards, inner peace, genuine connections, mental clarity, are immeasurable. If you take this step, if you practice these principles day by day, you will notice a change in how people respond to you. They'll see someone who can weather insults, frustrations, and setbacks without losing composure. They'll see a leader, even if you don't hold a formal title. They'll see a friend who listens rather than accuses, a colleague who collaborates rather than competes in bitterness. This is how you build a following of loyal supporters, not by intimidating them with your anger, but by inspiring them with your serenity. People yearn for stability in a tumultuous world, and if you can embody that stability, they will naturally gravitate toward you. Finally, let me say this. You are capable of this transformation. Do not let your past define you. Even if you've been prone to anger for years, even if you've hurt people with your temper, it is never too late to change. The human mind is adaptable. Neuroplasticity tells us our brains can rewire with practice. The wisdom of countless traditions tells us we can evolve morally and spiritually. Let this speech be the spark that lights a flame of commitment in you. Let it remind you that life is precious and that peace of mind is worth every ounce of effort. As you leave here, I encourage you to hold on to a simple mantra. I will not let external events rob me of my inner peace. Repeat it whenever you feel anger stirring. Reflect on it in the morning before you face the day. Whisper it to yourself at night as you review your actions. Over time, those words can become embedded in your psyche, guiding you through trials large and small. My dear friends, the power to remain unbothered is not a gift bestowed upon a lucky few. It's a skill we can all develop, a state of mind we can all cultivate. It's a choice we make every day, in every interaction, And though the path may challenge you, it is the path to freedom, a freedom that no harsh word, no painful slight, no petty insult can take away. This is your life. Shape it with calm intention. This is your mind. Fill it